We'll call a regular meeting in New Ulm Economic Development Authority for Tuesday, April 14, 2020 at 8 a.m. to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. And Heather, do the roll call, please.
Commissioner Brahm,
Present.
Commissioner Fix,
Present.
Commissioner Yanni,
Present.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz is absent, and President Schmitz.
Yes. Almost forgot myself. Okay. All right. Since we have a quorum, we'll go on to item number 2. And notice that this is a public meeting conducted by phone call, so we need to receive and order it filed. Except somebody out there make a motion.
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
This is the sixth.
And second by Les?
Sure, I'll take the second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Call roll.
Aye.
Oh, sorry. My fault again. We'll get used to it. Heather, please call roll.
Commissioner Brahm,
Aye.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. We'll go on to item number 2, approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll move them. Les.
I'll second it. This is Sue.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
No roll call.
Roll call again.
No roll calls.
Commissioner Brahm,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes. Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 4.1, sale of the EDA-owned property land according to Minnesota statute 469.105, subdivision number 2. Who's got that one? Guess I gotta click on it. Heather?
Do we need a motion to open the public hearing or no?
No,
Okay.
this is a public hearing, so you had something you want to read in at this time?
Yes, we did receive some questions or comments via email that I'll read into the record. They came from Tom Romaine. I don't have his address, but he does live in the Milford Heights subdivision. The first question he had, the asking price for the 8 lots according to the city website is $137,500. The offer the EDA received was for $30,000, a potential loss of $107,000 to the city and its taxpayers. Similar lots in Milford 2nd Edition have an asking price of $59,000 each. And then our staff response to that comment was, although the total sale price for these lots equals $137,500, the EDA's actual cost in the land is much lower. The EDA has sold spec houses and lots at less than asking in the past. The lots in Milford 2nd Edition are not comparable as they are larger and not part of a TIF district. The developer is also including assessments into the lot price in the Milford 2nd Edition. Can you all hear me? I feel like my microphone's not on.
Can everybody hear?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Second question.
But I got you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Second question or comment was the city website directs prospective buyers to the Century 21 website for more information. I went to their website today, and none of the Milford First Edition lots are listed on their website. In the 4+ years I've lived in Milford First Edition, there's never been a Century 21 for sale sign on any of the unsold lots in Milford First Edition. The single-family lots in Milford Second sprouted Century 21 for sale signs closely following the sale of Milford Second. These lots are also featured on the Century 21 website. What's the arrangement between the EDA and Century 21 regarding the performance required for the reference on the city website? And staff response to that question was, that the EDA has not listed the lots with Century 21 since October 2017. When the EDA pulled the listing with Century 21, the website was not updated to reflect this, and that was just an oversight on our part. Third question, in addition to the question from Tom Romaine, I also did receive a phone call with the same question. Will the existing covenants in Milford First apply to the proposed buyer? And the answer is yes. Question number 4, if there's interest by one entity for the remaining 8 lots, why is the EDA not considering putting these lots out for bids again? Staff answer to that question. We were preparing to go out for bids when this offer was received. Also, we have gone out for bids on these lots previously, and that resulted in only one sale. Question number 5, I recognize the EDA desire to move these lots, but would like to see a more aggressive marketing effort by the EDA, the city, and Century 21 before the lots are sold for much less than market value. And staff response to that was the lots have been available for purchase since 2008 and remain unsold. The EDA has had them listed with a realtor, has advertised them, and has put them out for bids during the past 12 years, resulting in 13 of the 29 lots being sold. We have the opportunity now to sell the remaining 8 lots and get the properties on the tax rolls.
Thank you, Heather. I guess I'll start out. My comment is I think it's something we need to do is unload the lots, and I think staff did a good job in answering Tom's questions and so on and so forth. And we've had them on the market. We had no action, and now it's the time to get rid of them. So I guess I support what's going on, and we need to move forward. But what I'll do is I'll call roll, and then we'll see who. Give each one 2 chances, so say what you want to say. So we'll start out with Les. You have any comments?
Mine is maybe similar to yours in that I've been on the EDA now for 8 years, and this was for sale long before that time. Some of the previous people sitting on the EDA were very adamant that we get out of the building house business, and as they left our board, we're adamant that we get rid of these homes and move on and do other things in our community. We've been talking about it ourselves for about 5 years, pretty specifically. We know if we go back to building houses, we're going to sell them at a loss. So in the long run, we'd be losing just as much money or more than we're looking at today. So I support this request.
Sue?
You know, I agree with what Commissioner Schultz is saying. We agreed to the, I believe it was letter of intent last month, and they've been sitting there. They are irritation. So let's just get it done. Move forward with it.
Thank you. Dan?
I had the opportunity to be on the commission when Milford Heights first came into being. And so I think I have probably some very good perspective on what this whole subdivision was originally intended to be and really where we find ourselves today. And I think, and I'm not trying to criticize Mr. Romaine or anybody addressing the comments, because I can understand from a public perception, if you're seeing it from where they're sitting, that they could say, well, the city is just trying to dump these lots at a loss. Well, for starters, our loss only comes when we don't realize what we have into them. And the situation we find ourselves in, you know, this many years later is the longer that we hold on to these lots, the more of a loss we're going to realize. And I think we found that out. And it's nobody's fault that the Great Recession happened when it did, you know, like a decade ago. And so what we're trying to do now is just close this chapter, you know, for the EDA and move on to some other projects that are worthwhile, both in, you know, the realm of housing and in, you know, other forms of economic development. So if the developer that wants to come in and purchase these lots now can find a way, and they're much more adept on building new homes and developing the properties than we are as the EDA board, I think it really serves us well to get this project completed once and for all. And you know, we went into that project originally with partners, you know, Southwest Partnership. We were going to get funding. They were going to build some homes there. We were going to build some homes there. Well, when the Great Recession hit, you know, we were abandoned, so we were left to fend for ourselves. And so I think at this point in time, anybody who understands that complete perspective, the complete history of that project, will understand that what we're doing today is the best possible outcome that we could see based on the circumstances of what's gone on over the last decade. So I fully support the sale of these lots to this developer, and I wish them well in completing Milford Heights 1, and that we're going to get additional housing units into our marketplace, which is still a main priority. And I think, you know, the more that the EDA can be supportive of private and public partnerships into that goal and that end is things that we should fully support.
Thank you, Dan. Jessica?
Well, I think that was really well said. I moved to New Ulm in Minnesota about that time, 10 years ago when that recession started, so it's nice to have that perspective from Dan on it. When I first joined the board, I didn't have some of that history of this, but I know we've discussed this before several times at meetings, wanting to move on from the Milford development, excuse me, and I know we've started developing some good programs in the last couple of years that might be more suited to our abilities right now with economic development, so I support the sale as well.
Thank you, Jessica. I guess at this time, I appreciate all the comments and everything. What we'll do is we'll make one more quick round here, and then we'll make a decision. So, Les, do you have anything else?
Mr. President?
Yes?
Hello?
It's Roger.
Oh, Roger.
Hi.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry to leave you out.
At this point, I should probably interject. Roger Hippert, in looking at what the law requires and some other considerations that the commission needs to be doing if they're going to move forward with this, before you'd actually start formally voting or taking action, I just wanted to make you aware of those. First, this is a public hearing, so I think it'd be appropriate to close that, and then, you know, I think you've taken all of the public comments. I'm not aware if anyone is physically present there, probably not.
Nope.
But that should be taken care of. Then there's a couple of aspects of this that you need to be considering, and it's probably something that should be included in a motion, or at least it needs to be on the record. For the EDA to move forward with this, the statute that Heather and Chris have noted, it's state law section 469.105, and that applies to the EDA and to this sale, and it's something that needs to be followed. One of the things that needs to be done is the terms and conditions of the sale of these lots have to include the use that the bidder is to make of them, which my understanding would be for single-family residential homes for the new construction of those. But if Heather or anyone's going to be putting together a resolution, that should be included. I think this is a situation where, as part of this sale, because this is fairly unique, I think that the EDA should have a written resolution and in a format that actually could be recorded with the land records, probably at the same time as any deed would be filed, so that anyone looking at the record title to these lots would know that the EDA complied with the law. So anyway, we've got to put something in there about the terms and conditions of sale. Another thing that should be in the resolution is after the public hearing, the state law says that the commission would have to determine that the sale is in the public interest and that it furthers the aims and purposes of, and it's pretty much the whole EDA Act 469.090 to 469.108. The aims and purposes aren't really expressed except in that entire part of our state laws. It just talks about economic development and something that's in favor of community growth. So those are pretty broad in general, but that's supposed to be recited. Dan, you're aware of this because I think it was anticipated in some of the materials that Heather and Chris prepared. The state law says that within 1 year, the buyer has to devote the property to its intended use or begin work on the improvements. The statute does say that the authority, the EDA, can extend the time to comply with those conditions if the purchaser has good cause. I don't know if there's anyone there from Erickson for this meeting, but we probably, if you're going to decide in advance to waive the 1 year requirement, we should have something in writing explaining what the good cause is for doing that. I think the law anticipates more of a situation where the sale happens, it's closed, you're getting close to the end of that year, and something has happened where the buyer can't go ahead with the project. The commission considers it. If they agree to give an extension, then they do it. What you're looking at doing, I think, is doing it in advance because of the number of lots and the amount of investment that would be required. So I think you can do that, but there should be some cause that's shown why the extension is being granted. There's also a provision in the law that says the buyer can't transfer the title within a year without the consent of the commission. Obviously, with the plan here, the hope is that, their title would be transferred. This is basically an anti-flipping provision because anyone who's buying or acquiring property through a commission like the EDA is normally getting some sort of break or benefit. And the idea is to not let them flip it because this could be any kind of a project. It could be rehabbing a building, new industry, whatever. But the whole point of this is this project is new homes. And obviously, the goal was to have a private buyer who's going to live there, buy the lot, and then they'll put up their home. But here, you need to have someone get those homes built. So you're going to have to be looking at waiving that. The law also requires that you can't close until the buyer provides the EDA with the plans and specifications to develop the property, and you have to approve those in writing. Here, with the number of lots involved and the length of time this is going to be going on for, I'm not sure what the developer is going to be providing. I don't know if they've got plans for each one of these lots. The statute just says plans and specifications. On a proposal like this, I think that could be at least some design plans, blueprints, whatever, but something in writing that you have to approve it in writing. And I don't think that we've seen anything like that. So that would need to be done. And then the last thing is not the state law, but it gets back to the declaration of covenants and conditions and restrictions that apply to Milford Heights First Edition. Heather had mentioned that there was an inquiry, as I heard it, will these covenants apply to this buyer? And the answer was yes. Well, one of the concerns there is that in Article 3, there's a covenant that requires the home to be completed within 18 months. And if it's not completed, the covenant says the land goes back to the EDA. Now, if that is not going to be happening because this is being projected out over a period of years, these covenants would have to be amended. And the only entity that can amend them is, in the covenants, the Architectural Review Committee. And that consists of 2 commissioners from the EDA, 2 city staff members, and 1 representative from the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership. And I think they would have to have a written amendment that would waive that provision as it applies to these lots, and that would have to be recorded because these covenants are a matter of record. So there's a bunch of stuff that would need to be done to make the transfer legal and to, prevent any title problems in the future for any owners of these lots and these homes. So it's not a real simple situation to, dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And my suggestion would be that you try and cover as much of this in any decision this morning, and that I would, review any resolution that would be prepared that would be something we would be recording to memorialize any decision you make this morning.
Thank you, Roger. So are you telling us that we should just close the public hearing and maybe have staff get the rest documents ready, or what would you suggest, Chris or Roger?
Well, as far as I think the stages, you would need to close the public hearing, and then the commission can decide if it wants to move forward to accept this proposal. And if it does, we would want to, end up with a resolution that would contain the information we need that, could be recorded with the land records in the recorder's office to confirm that all of these statutory requirements are taken care of.
All right, thank you. All right, what we'll do at this time then is we'll make one more round, see if anybody has any more comments. We'll start out with Les.
None here.
Sue?
Not at this time.
Dan?
Just a question for Mr. Hippert. Those things that you'd spelled out, do we have those in writing so we have a roadmap in which to follow so we can move forward legally?
Do you have them in writing today in front of you?
Yeah, I was trying to take notes, and boy, I can't write as fast as well as you can speak, so I'm sorry about that. But I thought that would be an important aspect if we want to move forward to make sure we are dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's.
No, I don't think that there would be anything in any materials that you have this morning for this, but yeah, these are things that are important. And again, the goal would be to memorialize these in a written resolution that you're going to be voting on the resolution this morning if you decide to move forward with this. But we would want to make sure that when it's reduced to writing, we've got everything covered.
Okay.
And Dan
Thank you.
Commissioners, this is Chris. I would probably in your motion, and Roger, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, is just have authorize the city attorney to draft the resolution containing all the provisions that he stated, and then we as staff can take a look at that and work with Roger to make sure we get it correct. Is that okay, Roger?
I think so. I think in some of the comments that each member of the commission has made, you've indicated the reasons why you're going forward with this decision. It's a tough one, but you clearly have concluded it's in the best interest of the city, the EDA, to move forward to get these lots sold, to get homes built. But I just, whoever's going to be presenting any, motion or resolution for this, you might want to summarize that just so it's part of your resolution that it's certainly within the purposes of what the EDA is intending to do to have the lots put to use. You certainly made a good faith effort for a long time to try and market these, and at this point, this appears to be the best alternative to actually put the property to use.
Thank you, Roger. Jessica, you have anything?
No, I don't.
Okay. Roger, you're okay? Nothing else?
No, I think we should be good.
All right. So I guess at this time I'd see if anybody wants to challenge it and make a motion.
Maybe if we break it into two motions, one is just to close the public hearing.
Yes.
So there's nobody there in the room that wants to speak on this issue?
No.
Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and offer a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to close public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call, sorry. I'm going to get that one set. Heather, please call roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. All right, now we'll go on to the second item. If anybody wants to take a shot at that one.
Dan, you took some notes. Can we help you walk it through?
Well, yeah, I like Chris's solution though to it to just refer to. My concern is this and I'm not at all familiar with how involved the developer Erickson is going to be related to how this has to take place and transpire. So, are they aware of the fact that these sorts of stipulations are going to come with it? You know, the deed transfer within the year, the development within the timetables, the covenants. I don't want them. I suppose we have to put this forward, and then what they can accept or reject the resolution as a developer. My concern is don't want them to get cold feet, obviously, and change their mind. So whatever we can do to abide by the law, number one, and make sure we're following all of these, and then number two, that they're at least have a comfort level that we definitely would like to work with them as much as we can within the constraints of the law. But to that end, I'll try to put the resolution together.
Dan, Roger
yeah.
Hibbert, before you actually express the resolution, one thing that I am going to ask, and I hope you've got as part of the packet, if you have the notice of hearing, I think it's important for this issue that you actually recite the legal description for the property that's getting sold. So it'd be the lot 1, block 1, etc. Do you have that available?
Yeah, I have that on my screen. You bet.
Yep. So I think you should include that. And then also, I haven't heard any commission members objecting to it, but if you want to, this would be a time to probably also address whether or not your motion would be waiving the statutory requirement that the property be put to use, all of the lots, within a year. If you want to address the question of whether or not the buyer can sell the lots earlier than 1 year, if they get some up this summer and sell them, that would be, if you want to take care of that now. Otherwise, that'll have to come back before the commission at such time as it happens. And then the third thing you really probably should address is maybe if there are I don't know if there are commission members who are already on this architectural review committee. If there aren't, those should be, should probably designate that, you're asking the committee to consider amending the covenants so that they have more than the 18 months to complete the homes. That's going to be something this committee will have to meet on and come up with something. But if you want to also take care of that, then I think we would have this whole situation covered.
Roger, this is getting very complicated. Can't we just draft a resolution today, or the staff prepare a resolution following discussions with our city attorney and discussions as stated this morning for the next meeting to review?
Yeah, I mean, if you would want to hold off, and I don't know if there's any problem with.
If there's a time constraint, then maybe we could have a special meeting. I don't know if there is.
Yeah, I'm not sure, if there's no one there from Erickson, how quickly they want to get going on this. It could be a special meeting. It could be the next meeting. But there is a lot to cover here. And if
there is, and I agree, Roger, and I don't want to see us miss anything. So I'm going to go ahead and bump in front of you, Dan, and I go ahead and offer the motion to have city staff draft a resolution based on our conversations today in conjunction with our city attorney to bring back to the next meeting for review and vote.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Would it be okay to amend that resolution just to simply include that I'm completely in favor of what Roger just said in terms of waiving the statutory requirements with the 1 year, and then with the development, and then waiving the deed transfer for 1 year, and then also within that resolution to make sure we include that we want to amend the architectural design committee to amend that 18-month requirement. I want to make sure we cover that piece of it.
Yep,
is that okay? Or is that part of the original draft resolution that you were speaking of, Les?
Yeah, I think all that would need to be in that resolution.
Okay, yeah, and that being the case, I'll certainly second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anybody else have anything? Sue, Jessica? Go ahead.
Yes, this is Sue. I definitely want to understand everything that's going to be in that resolution, good and bad or whatever it is. So definitely, bring it back to the next meeting, but definitely want to be able to understand each and every part of it because it seems like it's so complicated and there's so many pieces in it that we need to know what we're doing. That's just my comment.
Thank you. Jessica?
Yeah, I think we need to bring it get the language right and bring it to the next meeting. And if we have to have a special meeting because of time constraints, I'd be in favor of that. So thank you, Roger, for your input today.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Okay. At this time, we'll have Heather call roll.
All right, before I do that, I just wanted to mention as far as the timeline, the buyer was requesting a closing date of July 2nd, and they were intending to start construction on the first 2 homes this fall. So time-wise, we're fine, and my intention was if we had decided to move forward with this sale was to schedule the architectural review committee to meet following the May EDA meeting to approve the designs and the covenant, the 18-month requirement in the covenants. So we've definitely got plenty of time to take care of those items.
Good.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll call the roll to table this item until the May meeting to come back with the draft resolution. Commissioner Brahm?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. We'll go on this time to item 4.2, the 5-year plan for the fiscal year 2020. Heather? Public Housing Association. Go ahead.
All right, and there is a need on this item to have a public hearing as well. And there is no one here to make any comments, so I guess we'd need a motion to close the public hearing.
So do we have a motion to
This
close?
is Jessica. I'll offer a motion to close the hearing.
This is Sue, second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Heather call roll.
Oops, Heather call roll.
Commissioner Brahm says yes.
No, yeah.
Commissioner Brahm,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 5.1, administrative activities for the month of March 2020.
Do we need to approve the 5-year plan before we move on?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, I would say.
We closed the public hearing,
Yeah,
but
we
we
closed,
didn't.
we'll need a motion to approve the 5-year plan, sorry.
I'll offer that motion.
Second, Les.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brahm,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.1, administrative activities, March 2020. Heather,
Right. Just waiting for the agenda to
that's okay.
pop up here. Okay. I just have a couple highlights to point out this month. Under the public housing program, I just wanted to note that the Broadway House tuck pointing project is underway and is about 50% completed at this time. And also wanted to note that staff has taken measures to protect the Broadway House tenants during the COVID-19 pandemic, such as closing the community room and public restrooms. Only emergency repairs are being made to reduce the need for staff to enter the units, and only essential visitors are being allowed in the building during the shelter-in-place order. Under the EDA report, just wanted to note that expenses increased last month due to payments for the new emergency relief grant that was approved at the special meeting. Under the Small Business Incentive Grant Program, one application was received and at the end of the month was pending approval. I believe that has now been approved. Let's see. Under the rental properties report on page 13, just note expenses increased in March due to payments for insurance and property taxes. And on the Garden Terrace report, just wanted to note expenses increased last month due to payment now that the LED lighting project has been completed, and also that staff at Garden Terrace is taking the same measures listed for the Broadway House apartments to protect tenants during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Heather. At this time, we'll call the roll here. Les, do you have anything you want to add?
Nope.
Sue?
No, thank you.
Dan?
No.
Jessica?
No.
All right, this time I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Sorry, was that Jessica with the second or Sue?
Yes, Jessica.
Okay,
Yes, it's Jessica.
thank you. Commissioner Brahm,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. We'll go on to item 6.1, utility allowance schedules for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Choice Program.
All right.
Jessica?
Um,
Or Heather, I'm sorry. Many names.
This is an annual item that we're required to review. I apologize. These are usually done a month earlier and effective May 1st, but due to both being short staff in the housing office and then with staff not being in the office as usual with the pandemic, I'm just behind on this item. So these actually will be effective June 1st, 2020 this year. I'll just note overall, the utility allowance have remained fairly flat compared to the 2019 rates. The notable changes were the natural gas rates for Sleepy Eye Springfield and rural Brown County are significantly lower compared to 2019. And then there was also a significant increase in the water and sewer rates for Springfield, as well as electric rates for rural Brown County. The majority of the vouchers are used in New Ulm, so although there were some significant changes in the other communities, overall it shouldn't affect our program because we have very few vouchers being used outside of New Ulm at this time. Attached are the new utility allowance schedules, so you can see the comparison between 2019 and 2020 proposed rates. We do have schedules for New Ulm, Sleepy Eye, Springfield, and rural Brown County, as well as the 4 different types of units that we can assist in with the Section 8 program: apartments, duplexes, single-family homes, and mobile homes. So this is a chore to get through each year, but we did finally get through them and have them ready for approval.
Thank you. Again, Les, anything?
Nope.
Sue?
Nope.
Dan?
No.
Jessica?
No.
All right. At this time, I'd entertain a motion.
So
I'll offer
moved.
this is
Sue.
Go ahead.
So moved. This is Sue.
This is Dan. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Heather,
All right,
please call the roll.
Commissioner Brom,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. We'll go on to item 7.1, EDA list of claims. Do you have them in front of you? Anything new?
Mr. President, I'll offer a motion to approve the claim list. This is Les.
This is Dan. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brom,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 8.1, commercial property rehabilitation loan program. Heather?
That's me too. Okay. We had discussed when we were talking about EDA goals and priorities, the possibility of increasing the maximum loan amount from $50,000 to $75,000, and also removing the requirement to come to the EDA board for approval for loans over $25,000. So we're bringing that item to you for consideration for approval.
Les, you have any comments on it?
Briefly, I think I'm okay with not bringing it in front of the board for 25, but I think I would want to still have some oversight to some degree. And if you're asking to increase, so you have 2 motions here, then you want to increase the maximum loan amount from 50 to 75. So I guess I'd be okay with if amounts over 50 would need to come in front of EDA. And I'm okay with moving it to 75 as well. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Sue?
I agree with Commissioner Schultz. I'd like to see anything over 50. And yeah, that's it.
Dan?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, this is a rehab loan and we have to keep pace with increased construction costs. And I think that $75,000 should hit a wider swath of potential applicants. I agree with the oversight too. I just think at some point we probably just need a little, the board to step in and give the okay. So I think 50 is a comfortable number with me too.
Thank you. Jessica?
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. And I would support if it's over 50 to still come before the board and increase the overall limit to 75.
Thank you. So unless anybody else has anything except the resolution?
This is Dan. I'll offer the resolution to approve the increased limits and increase the approval oversight to 50,000.
I'll second. This is Les.
We have a motion and a second to offer the resolution. Waive the reading. Any more discussion? Heather?
Commissioner Brahm,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 8.2, commercial rehab loan payment, coronavirus.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Chris. We're bringing this item back to you as there were some suggestions at the last meeting to possibly extend the payment schedule out another 3 months, beginning in October 1st. As of right now, all payments for EDA rehab loans and the one limited loan we have been suspended to resume July 1st, but with the additional shelter in place till the beginning of May. We want to know if this is something you would like us to continue doing and holding off payments to begin back October 1st of 2020.
Les?
I thought didn't we ask how much this was going to, what the dollar value was on this?
So the dollar value, if we delayed it 6 months, would be $30,000.
For 6 months?
Yes,
Okay.
That's interest.
payments and
That's
interest.
that's my only question.
Okay.
And then we would still, the payments with that $30,000 would still come back to us. It's just extending their payment schedule to 6 months, so we're not losing any money or interest at that time.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Sue?
I see nothing wrong with this. I think it's a good faith effort for all of our businesses out there who have taken the loan, and I'm for it. If we can help them, let's do it.
Dan?
And that would be just to
go ahead.
sit it, to suspend it for July, August, and September.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the recovery period is going to take some time, and that's based on our current assumptions of when we might resume some semblance of normalcy with, people getting back to work and businesses reopening. So I would certainly support this, and we may have to come back and revisit this once again if we're not really back to some semblance of normalcy even come this fall. So absolutely support it.
Thank you. Jessica?
Yeah, I think this is a good way to support these businesses in our communities. So I see nothing wrong with suspending the payments further until the fall.
Great, thank you. At this time, I would entertain a motion then.
This is Dan. I'll offer the motion.
This is Les, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brahm,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. At this time, item 8.3, rehab loan 4. And boy, I got a tough one on that. Lily Dolan, something like that. Enterprises LLC.
Lily Oden.
How you pronounce it?
Lily Oden.
Lily Oden. Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and offer the motion to approve with conditions the $50,000 loan from Commercial Property Loan Program to Lily Oden Enterprises LLC.
I'll second it. That's Sue.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brahm,
I need to abstain from this request just because of conflict of interest.
okay. Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 8.4, Emergency Relief Small Business Grant Program Report.
Okay, so
Audra?
yep, thank you. In your packet today.
Do you have a microphone?
Yes. Is it not on?
Okay, you're good.
Now I'm good? Okay, thanks. In your packet, you received a little bit of an overview of the program that you put into place the last meeting and grants of $2,500. were put into place. And I think as of today, we've done 50, and there's 2 pending. So just wanting to open up if anybody had any questions about how that went. Most of them were in the hair salons, cosmetology sector, and the food restaurant sector. And then also included in this action item is that we would like somebody to make a motion to have the program open until April 17th. That would give us a couple of days to take any last minute applications. Just so that you know, most of the applications were processed in the first couple of days of the program. In the past couple of days, it's been not even a trickle. The 2 applications I received yesterday, one was not applicable or not eligible, and the other was the hard copy of something I had already received from an email. So it's really quieted down. So if there's any questions or if someone would like to make that motion, great.
Les, you have any questions?
Yeah, I have 2 questions. I certainly support the motion. Audra, I think we were thinking we were going to get up to 100 applications. What's missing? And then secondly, is there a theme of the ones that weren't eligible, and should we looking at something for those folks?
Yes. So is there a theme? Yes, we had 78 applications received and 51, 50 processed and sent out and 1 or 2 pending still. It's the retail and the services areas are the ones that were not eligible, and I did receive quite a few applications for.
So do you think we should be, staff think that we should be taking a look at supporting and helping those businesses as well?
I think that's what we're looking at in 8.5.
The next one.
The next item on your agenda.
Oh, I guess I'm going further, and I'm looking at my watch, and I got to check out here in just a couple minutes. So no, that's all I have. Thank you.
Sue?
No comments. I can offer the motion if you'd like.
Dan?
No, I think, just to clarify, Audrey, you were thinking of just extending it a couple of additional days?
Yes, extending it until Friday, April 17th. It gives a couple of days for those that haven't gotten their stuff in to send it in. So.
And I take it based on the math, we've given out about 125,000 so far.
About
Correct.
that, right under there.
If we do a total of 60 grants, it'll be 150.
Yep. Okay. That's all I have.
Jessica?
I guess my comment is extending it through this Friday. I know you said they've trickled now, but with everything, with the PPP loans, with the government and small business administration, with all the way that was rolled out, I know we've been processing a lot of those loans and still working with more of those smaller entities now and sole proprietors. Are there enough people, because of the backlog with those, and meeting with their bankers, are they knowing about these grants at this point still, where giving them till Friday is enough time to help everyone we can, or that would be eligible, or would it hurt to extend it another week? And maybe that relates to the next motion, but that's just my thought, is if through Friday is enough time, just knowing how things have been going with the aid from the government and how that process has gone around, Minnesota and the United States, just knowing that backlog, is it enough time through Friday in your mind?
Thank you, Jessica, for that question. I think that it is, as I stated in the action, it's been a month since those orders sort of came into play. And we've had some, there was information in the journal. The chamber's been great about pushing it out. And staff has even made some calls on, to people that we thought, should consider applying. So I do think it's enough time. And like I said, the majority of these applications were processed in like the first 3 days after the program went live. So it was really quite a flash. and nothing. So.
Okay.
Mr. President, this is Les. I agree with Commissioner Yanni. I think if there's some stragglers out there that for whatever reason, if we only have about half of the ones that we thought were going to apply, why are we in a rush to close the program down? So I'm going to go ahead and offer a motion to receive the report and approve a program closing date of April 30th. So basically the end of the month.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second
This is
that.
Commissioner Brown. Yeah, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second extending it to April 30th. Any more comments? Les?
Nope.
Sue?
Not at this time.
Dan?
Nope.
Jessica?
No.
Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz.
Yes, and I need to bow out for the meeting after this vote.
All right. President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 8.5, Small Business Economic Impact Program Creation, Tier 2 Relief. Chris?
All right. So this program goes back to Les's comment about some of the other businesses that weren't part of the Executive Order 2004 and 2008. And so the second round of grants will be for what we would consider a small business, those businesses having 10 full-time equivalent employees or less. And this grant would be for $1,500. The New Ulm Economic Development Corporation has donated $100,000 to this program. We would be asking the EDA to contribute $125,000 to this program, so we would have a total of $225,000, which would give us 150 grants. Because there really are no criteria other than 10 full-time equivalent employees or less, there will be a lot more businesses applying for this grant. So lowering the amount to $1,500 we felt was still effective, and we'll be able to help more businesses by having $225,000. We can get an extra 50 grants out there above and beyond what we did for the original grant that we put together. And then a full-time equivalent for this, the purpose of this program is for every 2 part-time employees, that equals 1 full-time equivalent. So if you have a business that has 18 part-time employees, you technically only have 9, and then you as the owner count as 1, so you'd have 10 or fewer.
Thank you. Les? Are you go already?
Yeah.
Ain't right left. Sue?
So who would this pertain to other than businesses that have 10 or less individuals? I mean, are we looking at your electricians and your plumbers? And I'm just curious as to who would this affect if they so desire to apply?
Any business under 10 employees with a commercial address. So your home-based businesses wouldn't apply, with the exception of bed and breakfast, because they're considered lodging, and they do pay a lodging tax. But home-based businesses wouldn't apply, have to have a commercial address, and then no shared suites.
So this could be dentists and just...
Yes. Any business with 10 or fewer that have a commercial address. Because when you go down the list of businesses that have been affected, especially in the city, I mean, it's all the businesses across the board. Your retail, your dentist can't, be open. Service industries have slowed. Lodging has slowed. So again, this is not trying to, again, not going to support their business, but at least give them a Band-Aid or give them some type of cash to help float their business until they get some of those other SBA programs, some of the state programs, or some of the federal programs.
Okay, that helps my understanding. Thank you very much, Chris.
Not a problem.
Dan?
So I understand if they've received the $2,500 grant, they're not eligible for this one. That's item number one, correct? And then is there a closing period then, or do we fully anticipate this money to be fully spent?
I would fully expect this money to be spent.
But and if it's not like it is with that current program, do we return some funds back to the NUEDC?
I would go, we do a 50-50 split on that. Whatever we have left over, we return half.
Okay.
Jessica?
I think there's a lot of businesses this could help. There, businesses that have been able to stay open in a different way, but are still really feeling the pain of what everyone's going through. So I think this would be a good way to, like you said, it'll probably just be a Band-Aid, but hopefully this, could be a little bit to help them. So are you asking, what amount are you asking from the EDA to put towards this then?
It would be $125,000.
Okay.
Just a question of clarification. So the current program that we're facilitating, the $2,500 grants, that if we get to 60 grants at $2,500, we'll be at 150. Are you suggesting 100,000 from what's left of that program?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Because
this is a new.
Because that program is extended through the April 30th, and if we're giving out grants, we don't know how much money we'll have left over. So at this point, just fund it, and then whatever we have from the leftover grant, the previous grant, will just go back to the EDA.
Sure. Thank you. One more round. Sue, have anything?
No, I'm very thankful, though, for the Newham Economic Development Corporation for their input of the $100,000. That's very, very appreciative. And I think if we then put in, I believe it's like $125,000, that would significantly help the companies in our community. So, yeah, it's my two thoughts.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I think this is going to be great, and I do believe it's going to go fast, and we may want to revisit it, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Jessica?
I guess I'd agree with the others on that, and I hope that if you kind of handle this the way you did the other, if it goes fast and there's still money left, if you're proactive and kind of reaching out to businesses you think might benefit from it, if there's still funds left, that would be good too, just to make sure we can help everyone we can.
Thank you. Entertain a motion?
I will offer the motion. This is Dan.
I'll second. Yes.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum?
Yes.
Commissioner Fix?
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion
I
carries.
have a question.
Go ahead.
Excuse me, do we have a quorum?
We have 4.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Item 8.6, retail strategies. Chris?
All right. So this item is coming back to you, whether or not to fund retail strategies in the amount of $40,000 or cancel their contract. I think at this point in time, we should not move forward with their contract. Again, this has nothing to do with their performance. They have been nothing but exemplary, doing exactly what they said they were going to be doing. But with the information that was given to us after the year, our market is just too small at this point for the type of retailers that they're trying to attract to the city. The information that was given to us was good, the demographic information. But when we look at their report and what some of the retailers they're talking to are saying is we're just not big enough at this point for what they're for the market they're trying to attract. I know you had asked Audra to look into what Albert Lee has been doing, and if you can touch base on that.
Sure. Albert talked to Albert Lee, and they were in very similar boat. They felt that they had gotten what they were expecting, but that they were not getting the right, because of the size, they were having a similar issue. So they felt that the contract had been fulfilled, but they were in the process too of deciding what to do.
Yeah. And then really on the retail side of things right now with the pandemic and everything, retailers aren't going to be looking to expand anytime soon. So at this point, it doesn't really, it's not really in our best interest to hold a retail recruiter, on retainer when no one's really going to be looking at expanding for the next 6 months to a year. I would like to, just have this keep it on your radar and use them again when we have some more housing projects come online. We can get our population up a little bit and our downtown a little bit more revitalized and get through this pandemic, and then looking at hiring them again in the future, because I think they did a really good job with the information that they provided, and this is nothing to do with their body of work whatsoever. But being in the same boat as Albert Lee and having the same results, I think at this point in time, it would be in our best interest to cancel the contract at this point in time and look at hiring them again in the future.
Thank you, Chris. Sue?
I agree with Chris. I think that life has changed. Our community has changed right now, and I just feel that it would be the best. I do agree keeping them on the radar so that in the future, as we grow, we can use them again, because we've seen that they're very valuable at what they did. But just right at this time, I just can't see spending another $40,000 for a year.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, I agree. I think with the pandemic alone, it really has changed the world around us. And if we were to go forward at this point, I don't see any real benefit of what they could provide us at this time, because everybody, top to bottom, retailers, businesses, communities, governments are all kind of in a mode that we're going to have to re-strategize. My thought, though, is, and Chris, maybe you could add something. If we keep them on the radar like we're talking about, and then we kind of come back and revisit this, I'm assuming at that point we're kind of going to be starting from square one. Isn't that true? I mean, because all the data is going to have changed, so we would have to really, in essence, start over, because the data that they've compiled to date really isn't going to be up to date and valid enough. So we would be looking at having to start over. That would be my thought. And would you agree with that, Chris?
I would go yes and no. Again, because we can monitor the changes in our population. Really, that's really the demographic they would be looking at. They already have a sense for what New Ulm has to offer, kind of that target area from their initial study. It may change a little bit, but that very initial period will be much shorter data gathering than the initial one, because they already have a feel for what New Ulm has to offer and kind of what our demographics are. So they'll be building off what they already know instead of starting from scratch.
Jessica?
I think when this was brought before us before, our initial concern was all the work that they've done so far and losing that momentum, but things have really changed the last few months with the pandemic. So I would be in favor of canceling the contract for now and revisiting with them in the future when things turn around.
And then this is Chris again, and the information that they've given us, myself, Audra, Michael at the chamber, we can still take that information and use it to our advantage. So there's really momentum loss isn't, I wouldn't say is a correct term, because we still have that momentum, and we as city staff and as the chamber, and even with the EDC, we can carry that forward and still push forward to, do some recruiting on our own during this time, because, that's our job as the EDC, as the city, as the chamber, is to still help recruit businesses. This was just another tool to help us do that. So we'll still carry forward the momentum that Retail Strategies has given us with the data they have provided.
Thank you, Chris. I guess I agree with all the comments, and at this time I'd entertain a motion.
This is Sue. I'll make a motion to cancel the contract with Retail Strategies.
I'll second. This is Jessica.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brahm,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Item 9.1, report on potential projects. Chris?
This really is just to put on your radar. At this point in time, there are two potential upcoming projects. One would be Shell's acquisition and rehab of the Target facility, and then the other one would be the Marktplatz Mall project. Both these projects are potentially a year out, if not more, but at this time, the city revolving loan fund has basically about $20,000 in it, and both projects will be coming to the city to ask for help with their help fund their project. Both will probably be asking for the full amount of the $250,000. So at this point, just so it's on your radar, the city would be coming to the EDA to ask for potential funding through the revolving loan fund mechanism that we have. Again, if they're a year out, we will be collecting some payments, so we might have increase our revolving loan fund. But at this time, it's just to put it on your radar, something to think about. As it stands right now, including the money that has been given out for the grants and that will potentially be given out for the grants, we have about $1.3 million available for projects. If both these projects needed to be funded at the full amount of $500,000, you'd be looking at about $800,000 left for future projects, and that's not including the money you would earn from Garden Terrace, but just as it sits right now. But again, these are a year out. I just wanted to put these on your radar as possible projects for the EDA to fund.
Thank you, Chris. We'll take a quick run here. Sue, you have anything?
Not at this time. I
Dan?
think we can wait and see what happens.
Okay, thank you. Dan?
I think this is a good problem to have, that we've got two possible, major redevelopments of two structures in town. So my only question is to Chris is, do we want to sort of set $500,000 aside, not thinking that we're going to go out and spend $1.3 million in the next year or anything, but I just want to make sure we're committed and supportive of that revolving loan fund, because I think that these two projects, as they come forward, are going to have a very positive impact on our community in taking these buildings and getting them repurposed. And I just think that's a great thing for us to be involved with and to support. So that's my only question is should we set aside $500,000 for future use for the revolving loan fund, just so we know that money's allocated now and today, so it's definitely on the radar.
I would not be opposed to that, but it will be a commission decision to do that. And again, I mean, both those projects, like I said, are probably a year, maybe a little bit longer out, and the city will be receiving payments from their current revolving loans that are out there. So we may have some of that funding available. So I don't fully expect to ask the EDA for $500,000, but if you wanted to earmark it today, I would not be opposed to that.
Well, I think we
Just
need
one other question,
Go ahead.
Chris. What if another project comes along out of the blue, and you're still depleted? I mean, would it be wise for us to at least, the maximum revolving loan is $250? Is that right?
That is correct.
What if we authorize to transfer $250 today, just for a contingency, just in case another project came up, and then, as needed, we can replenish that money, knowing that these two other projects are coming too, that we would look to fully support those as well. I don't want to give the impression that we're not ready to do business if somebody's willing to come forward, that we're ready to go with something today. So I don't know. I would support at least putting $250,000 into those coffers today.
What we were planning on doing, because the revolving loan funds are essentially depleted at this point, would be for the EDA to use our revolving loan mechanism and actually have the EDA do those loans. So the EDA gets paid back, so it's not a transfer to the city. We give out the money, and then we end up paying you back. This way, the money comes directly to the EDA instead of going through the city.
Thank you,
I'm
Chris.
sorry, Chris. I only heard about half of that, what you had said.
Okay. So right now, we're just looking at using the city revolving loan fund application as a mechanism for the EDA to loan money to the businesses that are looking for that type of funding. That way, the loan is to the EDA, and you will get that money directly deposited instead of us taking the deposit and then transferring it back over. So I would not recommend putting the $250 into the revolving loan fund at this time. But if you just wanted to earmark the $500,000,
Okay, so we would not in any way then potentially delay a project because the money hasn't been transferred. It's kind of like we know we've got those funds available, and you could move forward with a potential project at any time, knowing that we could get that taken care of within the time frame that a business may need to get those funds allocated and get a loan closed.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Okay, fine.
Jessica?
I had a hard time hearing Chris when he was first talking. You said the two projects. One was the Mark Platt Mall. What was the other?
Is the Shell's rehab of the Target building.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't quite hear that when you said it the first time. I don't really have any other discussion.
Okay, thank you. Since it's just a report, we can go on to item number 10. Let me get that up here. Economic Development Director, Assistant City Manager Activity Report. You have it in front of you. Anything you want to add, Audra?
Well, as you can see, for most people, the pandemic has dominated the time recently. But just a quick update on the SBDC. We do not have our consultant in person the next couple of days. They are at work-at-home orders, of course, from the SBDC. But Wendy is working on a lot of SBA loans with the clients that she has. And MyCon has let me know that they have 5 consultants that are working with businesses on the securing grants and things and loans during this time. So we are still connected, just not in the office. And then just that there are so many grants and programs out there, you know, even there's child care emergency grants. And you can see that I reached out to Child Cares on securing some of those. And just kudos to the partnership with the Chamber for communicating all of this stuff too and getting webinars and things going. We're doing the best that we can to communicate all of these opportunities to local businesses.
Thank you, Audra. Anybody have anything? Les? Les ain't here. Sue?
No.
Dan?
Sorry, I was on mute. I was coughing.
That's
no.
okay. All right. Jessica?
No.
All right, thank you. This time I'd entertain a motion accepting the report.
I'll offer that motion. This is Dan.
I'll second. This is Jessica.
We have a motion and a second. Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Fix,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. And with no more business, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.